So this week we are talking about Edd N Eddy. As I said earlier, we're focusing largely on season 5 because Nina and I had essentially never seen it, and we feel like a lot of people hadn't as well. But we're also going to talk about the show as a whole.
Totes.
There's some history on the show. What was its runtime? Run dates. It was
99 to 2009.
2009 seems like there needs to be a big asterisk behind that, but we'll get back to that. So yeah, it's late 90s, still lumped into that 90s nostalgia. Largely contemporary of Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, I remember, because one of my earliest memories of Cartoon Network, they had this commercial advertising both Edd N Eddy and the Powerpuff Girls, and it swapped between their theme songs, like, manically for 30 seconds. It was hella.
Right.
That actually sounds pretty fun.
Actually, now that I think about it, yeah. It was like, because it was it was both shows. One was about 3 duders, and one was about 3 ladieses. That's neat. I didn't think of that before, because I was a good child that didn't conform to fucking gender society.
Yeah.
New band name.
But yeah, speaking of theme songs, Edd N Eddy has, I think, my favorite theme song of anything ever. I adore it.
It's a really good
I wish we could use it as the theme song to this podcast.
But we can't.
Nope, we'd have to give whoever. I feel like I actually know who did the music. I would know the name.
Patrick Caird.
No, I don't. Theme music composer was Patrick Caird. We'd have to give him $1 million.
We don't have any money yet. We're trying to scheme some money out of some people.
Trying to see if we can make
Appropriately enough! This is a show about 3 latchkey garbage boys trying to scam quarters away from their other latchkey garbage. Not friends.
neighbor kids.
Yeah,
acquaintances.
People who live within the same 100-foot radius of them.
It's like the equivalent of having to hang out with the same kids because you go to you're in the same classroom. These kids are like perma neighbors, so they have to see their faces every day. Yeah. So they gotta live in some form of stable tolerance.
Yeah, and then they want to scam quarters off of them so they can use it to buy garbage candy. The show was created by Danny Antonucci.
Danny.
Did I say Dante?
You said Dante.
Space Dante.
Space Dante.
Danny Antonucci, who... You told me this, Nina. This was actually really out of character for him because his whole bit was that he did, like, gross, nasty shit.
Yeah, he was dared to create a children's cartoon, and he conceived Edd N Eddy while he was working on a commercial, I believe the story went.
His Wikipedia picture just makes him look like the worst person.
Here's the thing. This is when Nina and I started rewatching this again a couple months ago when like seasons 3 and 4 came on Netflix. Well, we came to the realization that, wait a minute, Eddie's a Guido. And then we looked at Danny Antonucci and it's like, oh my god.
It all makes sense.
But yeah, he began his career working as an animator on various series for Hanna-Barbera. But then his solo works were edgy and aimed at adult audiences, and he gained notoriety in '87 for his short film Lupo the Butcher. And then later he founded his own production studio, aka Cartoon, which is what creates Edd N Eddy in '94, and created the series The Brothers Grunt for MTV, which was quickly canceled. I'm assuming it was super gross. And then, on a dare, he decided he would produce a children's animated series of his own because his friend was like, man, your shit's so nasty. You can't make a kid's cartoon on a major network. And he's like, fuck you. And he did.
Fucking watch me.
Yeah, and then, he created the names. He faxed a 1-page concept sheet to Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon in '96. Both studios responded quickly. Cartoon Network in only 20 minutes.
Wow.
And they wanted it.
What?
And they agreed to let him have control of the show. And
which seems like it would have been a bad idea at the time. Of just looking at his portfolio.
Your fucking kids are gonna eat lunch when the lunch boxes are gonna have my drawings on them. Fuck you.
And the deal was that AKA Cartoon would produce Edd N Eddy, making it the first Cartoon Network original series to be produced by an outside production company, rather than Cartoon Network's Hanna-Barbera. The fun thing about AKA Cartoon is that it's Canadian. So this show is half Canadian.
half Canadian, half Guido? That just sounds wrong.
Well, Antonucci's actually Canadian. He is a Canadian first-generation Italian immigrant.
My God.
He immigrated from Italy?
No, his second generation.
Is he
His
saying-
parents immigrated.
Can I just have, like, a Nat Geo documentary on him? I'll watch it and be thrilled.
One thing that always stood out to me as a kid visually about this show is it's the art style where all the character outlines are constantly moving. It's not exactly squiggle vision. I'm looking at right here. They call it boiling lines. It's not as intense as, say, Dr. Katz or Home Movies, but
Yeah.
like season 1 of Home Movies is fucking ugly. And seasons 2 through 4 are just regular ugly, but it's still my favorite show.
Yeah, but, Antonucci was all like, hand-drawn animation, what. Wanted to produce Edd N Eddy in a similar way to cartoons from the 40s through the 70s. As a result, the series was the last to use cell animation, like actual cells.
And you can really tell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can always tell what's cell animated and what's digital animated, but especially with Edd N Eddy because it actually lived through all of it, so you can see the horrendously stark difference. It's ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah. So the cells were shipped to Korea for creating the initial animation, and then later edited back at AKA Cartoon Studios. It's kind of a weird process. I feel like Nikki said they called it boiling lines, that sort of squiggle vision-esque thing. But but Antonucci says the whole idea came from 1930s cartoons. And I guess how clean up in those cartoons wasn't great.
I don't even think they knew how to trace back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they drew the character from scratch in every frame.
But
Like from memory.
Yeah. They would draw it, hit themselves on the head so they forgot they just drew it and drew them again.
Yeah, but the technique was accomplished by tracing off a drawing 3 times through sheets of paper.
It's so it looks like it's moving when it's not going nowhere. Boom. Animations.
We convey motion without having to draw more drawings. It was great.
He explains that he felt it helps keep the characters alive, and he wanted to depart from other Cartoon Network series.
Yeah, because again, you compare it to Powerpuff Girls. Powerpuff Girls has that super clean pop art look to it, which is also great and super iconic. But Edd N Eddy definitely stands out.
Yeah.
And there's never really been another kids cartoon that's looked like it.
Yeah, but also like again comparing those two came out around the same time. It just goes to show you like variety. Variety works. Like for a network.
Yeah.
Like do it. Everybody stop doing the same things the other people are doing because they did good stuff. Look for you, get new good stuff.
Yeah, I mean.
Like Edd N Eddy, but not. You're missing the point. Wake up.
But no, like I would even say, you look at what's on Cartoon Network right now, and we like almost all of it. Mm-hmm. A lot of it, I was gonna say all of it until I remembered Gumball. A lot of it obviously has its own visual identity, but there's kind of a shared aesthetic through like Adventure Time and Steven Universe and Clarence, and even a bit of like Teen Titans Go.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens when everybody goes to the same school and is everybody's super friends.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting, once this current era of Cartoon Kings, passes the torch and we get the next guys it'll be interesting to see people making stuff from like people of different backgrounds making stuff. Because right now, like the Cartoon Kings on TV, they all went to the same goddamn college at the same goddamn time.
Also, most of them worked on Adventure Time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting sample of people because it's so recursive. I mean, they're making good stuff, but I don't think that's overall good for the industry right now. We'll see.
No.
But as for the premise of Edd N Eddy, how'd he come up with it? It wasn't too complicated. He based the characters on real people in his life. Despite, like, the whole, like, all those crazy cartoon conspiracies people have about this show, the personalities of Edd, Double D, and Eddie were based on his own traits, he says. They're like different parts of himself and the activities of his own sons, while the kids from the cul-de-sac were based on kids he grew up with. The inspiration for Rolf came about from, himself and his cousins, since they were an immigrant family and they grew up in a first-generation foreign household, different customs, ways of living, compared to, regular white-bread Canadians. that's where the inspiration for Rolf came from. Just that craziness, that isolation. That obviously it's exaggerated, and he sort of created a different point of origin. But that whole idea of like this weird foreign kid comes from that. Jimmy is based on one of his cousins, who was rather feminine and spent most of his time playing with the girls rather than the boys. Johnny and Plank are inspired by one of his childhood friends, a loner who spent most of his time outside with his blanket.
I was definitely friends with Linus, you guys.
I just couldn't put it in the cartoon because it would have gotten fucking sued, but I invented that. That's mine.
What's interesting is none of the actors from the show I recognize from anything.
Double D's voice actor.
Samuel
Other
Vincent.
stuff. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Matt Hill, I know he did a lot of, he did some anime.
Yeah, like I think a lot of these people are from anime. Probably because you said it was produced in Canada, right? I think a lot of these people are Canadian.
Yeah, they're all Canadians.
They've done Canadian dubs.
Yeah.
Because Samuel Vincent works with Ocean Productions, which did Dragon Ball Z, but I don't think he was in Dragon Ball Z.
We're looking at one of these guys right now. He was in Powerpuff Girls Z, so there you fucking go.
I wish they would have found a way to put the English cast of Powerpuff Girls into the dub of Powerpuff Girls Z, but unions.
Now, I think that our experience revisiting the show is pretty interesting because you were not super into it.
Not as much. And what's weird, because I remember this show used to make me crack up more than any other show, period, that I watched as a kid. Like, consistently the show made me laugh uncontrollably. But now that I'm like an old, boring, crotchety adult, like the slapstick just doesn't do it for me anymore. Now I just feel bad. I'm like, oh, they're getting punched a lot. Like, I don't know.
It's like the Three Stooges logic, where it's supposed to be like so over the top that you can't possibly relate it to like real life, because
but like,
real life
they get bruises and shit.
Yeah, see, the thing is, I remember like I was first exposed to the Three Stooges in middle school, and I didn't like it at all. And I actually think I appreciate the slapstick of Edd N Eddy more now than I do, than I did then. Part of that is an appreciation for how they actually animate all this shit. For me, it's all like it's funny that this guy got punched. It's like it's the fact that somebody drew Ed wearing like Eddie's upper jaw as a hat.
Yes. And, like, because they just do, like, so many goofs are visual. Like, I remember...
Most of them
I forget. It was the pimple episode where he got a pimple. You guys remember that one?
Gross.
Oh my god.
And Ed, like, licks his sleeve and, like, vigorously rubs his head, and it, like, fucks with the pencil outline of his head, and it's all smudged.
I remember that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the show also broke the fourth wall, and, like, from a modern perspective, a lot of their fourth wall breaks are pretty trite.
Oh yeah, no, they were always conservative about the fourth wall. They didn't do it too much.
And when they did, it wasn't like super good, except for like that pencil thing. At the end of the movie, it's like, well, it only took us 6 seasons, 4 specials, and a movie.
The movie, like the two or three meta jokes in the movie weren't good, but there were better ones in the series.
Yeah, like whenever Eddie mentioned something in passing, where it was just like, man, who writes this guy's shit?
Yeah.
Those
are great.
This show is pretty remarkable because I didn't know this, but this show attracted an audience of 31 million households and was broadcast in 120 countries. Within its 10-year run, Edd N Eddy remains the longest-running original Cartoon Network series and Canadian-made animated series to date, and is also one of the longest-running United States animated series, period.
Boosh.
Yeah.
Like, which I didn't expect, but like, one time while surfing the internet, I caught a snippet of a Japanese dub of Edd N Eddy, and it worked so well. So I'm like, man, this must work perfectly in like everywhere. So no wonder everybody liked it.
Kids building weird shit and beating the fuck out of each other is a universal
violence is... I'm not sure if like slapstick is pretty universal. And it's just the 2 assholes and a narc yelling at each other for 11 minutes.
Another good band name idea, along with what was that one? What was it? What Garbage Children?
Latchkey Garbage Boys.
Children. Yeah, Latchkey Garbage Boys. Another band name.
Now, what was interesting is the first 4, and this is what our focus is about. The first 4 seasons of the show took place in sort of an eternal summer setting.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I mentioned Latchkey 20 times so far. The parents are never in this show at all. The closest thing to an adult is that in the end of the movie, they finally show Eddie's brother, who I guess is an adult.
Yeah.
Spoiler. He's a man-child. That's probably how they get away with it.
Not even like Peanuts, where there was the implication that the adult is off screen. The adults were supposed to just be out and at work, so all these fucking kids would just have their run of their street all day.
There was one episode where, and it was the later season, where like they're trying to hide their report
Yeah,
cards.
you see like Eddie's dad's arm.
A hand.
Yeah.
You see their hands. That's it.
Yeah, that's really the extent of it. So, and that kind of, setting and premise is easiest to do in the summer where the kids have the days to themselves while the adults still have to work. But what's interesting is that after 4 seasons, they're like, I feel like we've expended this. Let's put them in school and see what they do there.
Well, the thing is, after 4 seasons, they planned to end the show, or the show had got canceled, or something like that, where they felt like they were going to be finished with it, because the last episode of season 4, what the episode entitled Take This Ed and Shove It, was like a full half-an-hour episode, and that was the episode where it's revealed that they were actually just old the whole time and telling stories over rickets or crickets or frickets or chickets or whatever that dumb game is.
Cribbage?
Cribbage!
What the None of those!
Cribbage!
What's that one game where you friggin' put the black and red circles over each other? Chunkers?
You piece of shit. Also, by the way, while we're talking about this, every episode is like a phrase or adage, but they replace one of the words with Ed, but it's not a pun. It just makes it impossible to know what the fuck the episodes are called.
It's great, I love it.
I hate it.
Everything in retrospect. I didn't realize it as a kid, but looking back on it now, the fact that they did that for a decade, I love them.
Like, one of them we saw today was Tight End Ed, and like, there's about football, and it's like, I mean, tight end is a position, but what word is Ed replacing? Fuck off.
Maybe they just didn't want to call it Tight Ed because it almost didn't work, and it was also, one, it didn't work, 2, it was too much of a
It was
pun.
actually a pun for once. They can't do that. They don't do those.
Unlike, I'm just scrolling through the names, 1 + 1 = Ed. Great.
Great stuff.
I'm surprised it took them till the 5th season to do the good, the bad, and the Ed.
Okay, fa-la-la-la Ed.
Yeah, so they went to school in the 5th season, which offered a lot of them to do a lot of interesting new stories with it, but also I felt kind of hurt the suspension of disbelief because, again, there were no adults there.
Also, no other children.
No other children. The school was populated entirely by this one street. Which, yeah, again, stretched credibility, but it was worth it for some of the stuff they were able to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they also did 4 specials during this time as well. That's when they did all the specials, as they're called. They don't technically fit into any season, but they're like Halloween, Valentine's Day, another Christmas, and then an Alien Invasion one. We're all done during
that whole Alien Invasion quote-unquote like crossover event that just didn't really exist, how they probably envisioned it coming together as. That was awkward.
What was it supposed to cross over with?
Lucy was talking about it. A bunch of different Cartoon Network shows
Oh,
were
yeah.
doing Alien Invasion episodes.
Yeah, it was weird. I didn't get
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
It had no end goal. They were just like, all our episodes are about this for a little while.
It was Foster's Home, My Gym Partner's a Monkey, Camp Lazlo, and Billy and Mandy. Well, that's a segue. This show is very much like Billy and Mandy as it relates to our thesis about that show, where Billy and Mandy encapsulated the spirit of mid-2000s cartoons about being it was a cartoon about a bunch of loud, annoying, impossibly dumb assholes who are extremely mean to each other, which is also this show.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's why I got kind of tired of it, because, like, I guess I was getting spoiled off of all these new cartoons where they're all so, like, nice at heart and nobody's really an asshole. But all these old shows are so mean-spirited that, like, it wasn't attractive.
This is the 90s. You don't get to feel good. Wear some fucking plaid and shut up.
Like, so many of the episodes will just end with characters getting beaten up or punished for something they didn't even do. And, like, it over and over and over again, and that really gets to me. Like, it's not fun for me to watch after a while. I don't know. I'm a curmudgeon.
I feel like most of the time, a lot of the conflict was, like Eddie and the rest of, the Eds by being in cahoots with him are kind of being shitty, trying to pull a fast one over all the kids, and 9 times out of 10, they don't. They don't get their awards, and they get punished for attempting to scam. Like, their scams don't work. It's like every episode is like a micro-tragedy.
Well, a lot of times, they get punished just for being friends with the person who was doing the shitty things. Like, Eddie or Ed will, like, go off and do something dumb and fuck shit up for people, and then the kids will beat up the other two, even though they didn't do anything.
That was the Halloween episode.
Besides know the guy.
That was the Halloween episode. Ed hallucinated. Ed's hallucinations in the Halloween special were a reference to Danny Antonucci's regular kind of animation. Those nasty monster men.
I don't know if it was a reference, but it was sort of like a callback to sort of like, this is more what he's known for doing, so he knows how to do it.
I'm gonna draw shit I like.
Yeah, but, Ed goes on a rampage and hallucinates that everybody's a monster and beats the shit out of everybody, and Ed and Double D and Eddie are like, what the fuck? And then at the end of the episode, all the kids just beat the shit out of Double D and Eddie, and I was like, what's the point? That doesn't make me feel good inside. Harumph.
No Schadenfreude here on the Toon Goons.
Well, I still think it's really funny. As a kid, like, what I think I laughed at most was the dialogue, mostly Ed's. But yeah, now it's just mostly an appreciation for the mechanics and the workmanship that go into slapstick.
Yeah. I'm more of a dialogue person too. Like, I do love the slapstick visually, but they also have really solid dialogue and, like, characterization. Each character has, like, their own unique role to play, and they always play them perfectly. And, like, they work off of each other so well.
Yeah, so I guess on that note, we should talk about characters.
Characters.
No, you're both doing it wrong. It's characters?
Oh, shit. I was doing the downloads.
Yeah, it's downloads!
Okay, so...
Anyway, before we fall into this whole Star Runner...
You think you can fucking hang? Dude, you have seen like 3 cartoons!
Okay, there are exactly 12 characters, not including Plank, but I guess 13 if you want to include Plank, in this show, that remain fixed throughout the entirety of said show. So, that's easy to work with. Oh, fun fact about why everybody's got really weird, gross tongues is because Antonucci was like, when he came up with the idea when he saw his sons and their friends with different colored tongues because they were eating a bunch of candy, and he just sort of used that idea on his storyboards and it just sort of stuck. So the reason why everybody has gross, like...
green and blue
necrosis, fucking bubonic plague tongues is because they eat candy constantly.
The reason all these children are ghouls.
So that's fun. Okay.
And let's go through these kind of quickly, because...
Yeah. Alright, so Eddie, he's played by Tony Sampson. He's sort of the leader of the Eds. He's the short one, the angry one, the one with the schemes, the man with the plan... the Guido.
It's like that episode where we saw his room and we're like, oh my god, there's so much bullshit in this room.
Yeah, he's a lot of bullshit in his room. He also has a lot of dirty magazines in his room, which is lots of fun to notice when you're an adult. Lots of dirty magazines and tissues.
Yeah.
Oh god, okay.
Because they're in middle school, so he's old enough to have figured out how to masturbate.
Well, he got that from his brother, because there was this one episode where, like, I guess his mom was cleaning out his room or something, and so he wanted to hide the magazines in Ed's room. But of course it's Ed's room, so you couldn't find them, and it became like a whole thing. In one episode, I don't remember which one, where Ed was being was like really annoying him, so Eddie kicked him out of his room. In order to distract him, he like taped up an open spread of his magazine, and Ed was just distracted by it. But yeah, he's short, he has bad self-esteem, He's pretty mean to everybody, but he really just wants everyone to like him, ultimately. And he also wants to take their money, so he can buy Jawbreakers. But he also wants them to like him. And give him their money. His money.
But it feels like, most of the time, like, he's not actually good friends with Double D or Ed. He just needs them for brains and muscle, respectively.
But we learn more about Eddie's character once the movie comes out, which is the very last thing they ever made for the story, so... Alright, then you got Double D, or Ed with 2 Ds, hence the Double D. I thought that was funny as a kid because of bras.
I retroactively found it funny once I learned about bras.
I always...
Because I didn't know about
I
bras
found the
when I
bra thing
first-
too easy to laugh at because even as a child I had comedic standards, but I didn't even realize...
Oh, wow, okay.
I didn't put together
cool,
why he was
fuck
called
you.
Double D for a while, though, so I was also dumb.
Alright, so you were a dumb snob.
Yes.
He was voiced by Samuel Vincent. He's the smartest and nicest of the 3.
But also the most neurotic.
He's super neurotic. He's just really shrill.
He's a complete fucking narc.
Yes. He's, a goody-goody. Yet he hangs out with Eddie and Ed and helps with the schemes and the nonsense. I mean, it doesn't make much sense why they're friends. I think they're all friends just because they have the same name. Because honestly, that's something that would happen. Like, parents would be like, oh, my kids have the same name, they should be friends! Like, they all move in into cul-de-sac or some bullcrap like that.
Well, I think Double D's whole thing is, like, he hangs out with them because they need him and, like, he feels needed,
Yeah.
Like, he builds them their shit and they're impressed by it. Like, because Eddie's always, like... Because Eddie is legitimately impressed by what Double D builds, and, like, he compliments him and whatnot, and, you know...
backhandedly, because he's like me,
appreciated.
he needs to be aggressive whenever he's being nice to people.
Right. Double D's my favorite.
Yeah, and Double D is... he's sort of a punching bag. He's sort of like that typical, like, nerd stereotype thing, not very athletic, neat freak.
He's got a cool hat, though.
He's a fun element to the trio. Oh yeah, and that's the thing. He famously wears a black hat that we never find out what's underneath of it.
Apparently it's gross and bad.
Yeah, apparently it's come off a few times, and Ed and Eddie are like, blah, 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 but we don't actually find out what it is. Apparently, Antonucci at some point said it's because he's blonde, but I don't know. That might have just been like a...
Stop asking me this goddamn question.
Yeah.
They were, like, kicking around different theories, and...
Yeah, they don't care. It's just a thing that he
It's like the briefcase in Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction.
Nothing is gonna be good enough to make it worth it, so just fucking let it be unknown.
And then last but certainly not least is Ed with 1D, played by Matt Hill. He's the tallest, strongest, dumbest one. He's also pretty sweet in his own right. He's just so dumb, it's often misdirected.
He's lovable. He's the lovable oaf.
He's a lug.
Yeah, you big lug.
Yeah, he's really gross. He doesn't bathe. His room is vile.
His room has several ecosystems in it.
Yeah.
As does his clothes and body, too, probably.
He likes, comic books and horror movies, and he likes buttered toast and gravy.
On at least one occasion, he's opened up his coat like you want to buy a fake Rolex style, but instead of a bunch of shit, it was a fridge. And yeah, so...
Yeah, he's basically just this juggernaut when it comes to the slapstick. Like, he'll just... When he wants to, like, start a sentence, he'll butt his head into the frame, knocking the other guy out.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like he...
And, like, instead, like, he can't just run. He has to careen into, like, several pieces of furniture and knock down at least one wall. Usually...
Oh, the run cycles are all great, because,
Oh, the run cycles.
Yeah, it's like it's probably like the most iconic visual element of the show is the run, other than like the boiling lines, is those run cycles, because they do them constantly. Eddie's hunched forward, arms out, tongue flapping behind him. Just is a very greedy looking run.
Yeah.
Yes.
Double D is standing upright with his hands in like the upward part of like the chicken dance thing, like perpendicular.
He's T-Rex in it.
His hands are like perpendicular, folded inward, short strides, clearly not athletic. And then we've got Ed.
Because his legs are like 3 inches
And then
long.
we've got Ed, who's so excited to be running that like his whole upper half of his body goes limp.
It's like when you give a dog, like, it's like, because, like, when a dog knows what a stick is, but sometimes you'll find, like, a branch in the yard, and he'll try and act like that's a regular-sized stick. Like, that's what Ed is.
Yeah, apparently they went through a number of walk cycles before they, determined what they wanted them to look like, so...
Animation!
Yeah. I would love to see those.
Yeah, me too.
I would pay for those like cells or whatever.
I wouldn't want to. It would probably look super wrong.
But yeah, back on Ed, one fun thing about Ed is I found this wonderful list of everything Ed has ever eaten and is willing to eat. To date, apparently, he's eaten a camera, his mattress, a TV, Eddie, dirt, a key, a log, a soup bowl, a cereal box, a large snail, 2 teeth, some gutter gunk, Jimmy, a cactus, crayons, a sandal, a lava lamp, and a kitchen sink. He's also chewed up and spat out the playground slide. Yeah, so Ed is a weird. He also has a particular affection for animals. He loves chickens, but he also likes all of Rolf's animals for the most part. He has, I believe, seagulls living in his room. He also has sponges that he treats like birds. He just tends to like animals.
Yeah, and his lines are kind of like they're mostly complete non sequiturs or phrases that are almost profound but not.
He's really just like a simpleton kind of guy. He's just like, obviously he was the funniest growing up as a kid because the stuff he said was just so funny.
It's the broadest.
Yeah.
How can my feet smell if they don't have a nose?
One of my favorite jokes with Ed was just sort of like a visual gag where he had a turtle on his head for some reason, and Double D was Ed, why do you have a turtle on your head? And then later in the episode, Double D puts like a helmet on the turtle because he's like, put on this helmet, Ed. It's to protect the turtle.
Yeah, he just accepts the turtle. Speaking of Double D and Ed interactions, one of my favorite episodes, because of the first half of it, is when Eddie's parents neglect to tell him that not only are they leaving for the night, but they hired Naz as a babysitter.
Yeah.
And so he's super fucking confused as to why Naz is like cooking him dinner and stuff. So he calls up Double D, and Ed's there with him. Like, Ed just came over to Double D's house to hang out for the night, like, without Eddie for some... I guess because they're all friends and they do that sometimes, but, like, it was just weird seeing Double D and Ed without Eddie and how they interacted. It was hilarious.
Yeah, because Ed and Double D have a very particular relationship. Like, Double D sort of dotes on Ed, and, Ed is just doted upon and, enjoys it.
It's literally like, a lot of times it's like Eddie and Double D are Ed's, like, friend parents.
Yeah. And this is something we kind of talked about in our Clarence episode, when we compared that character dynamic with the one from this show. And that, and even more so than this, in Clarence, Jeff and, Sumo would not be friends without Clarence as a unifying agent. And the same thing is largely true of Double D and Single D. They would know each other because all these kids are stuck knowing each other because they live in the same cul-de-sac. They don't, they wouldn't hang out a bunch because what the hell do they have in common?
Pretty much nothing. I mean, Ed is the piggest of pigs and Double D is afraid of dirt. That shows just how much Double D loves Ed. That, like, he'll go out on a limb for him, he's like the grossest man.
He ate his cactus.
Yeah.
His pet cactus.
But
Jim.
But fun thing about, because we're talking about how Ed's lines are so great and so fun, you'd think that some of them might have been ad-libbed, but they weren't. Matt Hill explained that Antonucci did not allow the actors to improv or ad-lib even the smallest amount. Everything was on the script, and they wanted what was on the script in the show. And they wanted things, like, very precise, which is just kind of crazy to me.
What, you think you're a better writer than me? What do I pay you for, huh?
Which is kind of crazy to me, because you think, like, at least some of that shit Ed said must have just been, like, random nonsense, but no, they wrote that down every time, which...
I can imagine them being in the writer's room just, like, their heads in their hands, like, is this funny? How about...
Like, they're just playing Mad Libs with their own script.
Then, we have the rest of the kids. We got Johnny. He's the kid with Plank. That's his biggest characteristic. He's kind of dumb. Nobody really likes Johnny very much. Like, sometimes people hang out with him. Yeah. But overall, nobody's super crazy about Johnny.
And the thing with Plank is that, like, part of the people developing the show wanted Plank to have some kind of, life to him, like he'd be blinking or occasionally talking, and Antonucci was like, no, it's a fucking plank of wood. It doesn't talk. What are you talking about? Yeah, so yeah, never.
You ever seen some wood talk?
Yeah, but at no point during the show does Plank ever even imply to be animate. All in Johnny's mind.
Yep, Johnny is voiced by David Paul Grove. He's also known as Johnny 2x4, I guess because of... We've got Jimmy, voiced by Keenan Christensen. He is sort of the girly boy child. He's sort of one of the younger kids. He's sensitive, he cries, he likes bunnies and snuggly, wuggly, cute, fun, sweetie things.
Jimmy had multiple voice actors, right?
No, it just says Keenan Christensen.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I know Naz went through multiple ones, and I think one of the Kanker sisters did.
I think Kevin did, too.
No, Kevin was always Kathleen Barr, who, I mentioned this to Nina earlier. I was like, what? Kathleen Barr's in this show? And then I realized I was combining in my head both Kathy Bates and Roseanne Barr.
Wow. Don't ever combine, that's the worst combination. Wow, okay, so I could have sworn, well then Jimmy's... Keenan Christensen altered their performance significantly over the years.
You know, possibly.
Because I always thought that they switched VAs.
I know that they changed the style of Jimmy's voice, because in the first season his voice was different, but a lot of the characters were that way. As the show grew, they sort of changed how they wanted the performances to be. Because
that's
because Double D wasn't always so shrill.
Yeah.
Like...
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, everything sort of changed as it went along. You know, Jimmy is most often seen with Sarah, who's his best friend. He's also known for having a really intense headgear to correct his teeth.
Now, I think Jimmy's actually a very problematic character. Because, I mean, the joke is inherently misogynistic. That, you know, the joke is that this is this boy who's extremely effeminate. And sometimes the way that manifests is very funny. But I think the fact that the inherent joke is, look at this girly boy is not cool.
No, but...
I don't know if it's always, at his expense, like...
I'm not gonna say it never is.
Yeah.
It definitely sometimes is, but a lot of times it isn't, and that's often funny. I think just my favorite Jimmy bit is that his rabbit's name is Mr. Yum Yum.
Oh, I love Mr. Yum Yum.
I think there was one time when Mr. Yum Yum got hurt real bad, probably because Ed ate him or something. And just the way he screamed Mr. Yum Yum was great.
And then Sarah is Ed's younger sister, voiced by Janice.
Janice?
Jenny.
I'm gonna say Janice.
Jod.
Cause that's a name.
Sarah is like just this really spoiled, bratty girl who's always beating people up.
Ed's younger sister.
I said that.
I missed that.
Okay, well, Ed's younger sister. You know, she's always like bossing people around. She doesn't like when anybody messes with Jimmy. She thinks Ed is really dumb and doesn't mind, you know, criticizing him and beating him up.
Ed is genuinely scared of her. This is one of my favorite Ed lines. It's like, no, if we do this to Jimmy will tell Sarah, and Sarah will tell Mom, and Mom will tell Dad, and Dad won't say anything, and we'll just watch TV.
No, the gag was like, and Dad will say, "Not now, I'm watching."
No,
TV.
they did it twice. And that was both of them.
Yeah, because like despite Ed being
not now, I just got home from work.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sarah's just...
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, and Sarah's very violent. She's pretty mean to everybody, more or less, except for Jimmy. Yeah,
Ed is like terrified of her despite being basically invincible.
Yeah, everyone's pretty terrified of her because she just has she doesn't care if it hurts. And then Kevin, voiced by Kathleen Barr.
Nina just looked at me like I'm the dumbest man on earth.
He's, I guess, like the jock kid. He's got his bike. He's super into his bike. He wears a backwards baseball cap. I guess he's like the cool kid. He's sporty. His dad owns the Jawbreaker factory or something like that. So he has a bunch of Jawbreakers all the time.
That's like the 12-year-old equivalent of like my dad owns a car dealership.
My dad works at Nintendo.
But
he calls everybody dorks. You know, he doesn't like the Eds very much. He's just there, I guess. I mean,
yeah, and he's Eddie's favorite person to torment and scam because Kevin is kind of and with, Eddie's whole, inferiority complex and secretly wanting to be accepted, Kevin is basically the person he wants to be.
Yeah, basically, that everybody likes. And then Rolf, my favorite character, voiced by Peter Kelamis. He's the weird immigrant kid from the old country, wherever that is. He's got like a farm in his yard, and he talks weird. He's got all these made up fucking traditions, and just the things that he says are so funny.
My favorite Rolf line is the Valentine's Day episode. After he dehypnotizes everybody from their Cupid arrows that made them fall in love with each other, it's like, Rolf has sent you back to the crushing reality of your miserable lives. Thank you.
Rolf is basically if Fez from that 70s show was way less chill.
Yeah.
Yeah, he refers to himself in the third person. He calls all the Eds Ed Boy, but like different versions of Ed Boy. He's got a nickname for everybody, and they're great. Fun thing, apparently during the original broadcast of the movie, the closed captioning just didn't translate what Rolf was saying at all. Everyone else was fine, but...
I give up!
But Rolf was hilarious. Of course, the famous joke, the episode where they create a fake village to make Rolf feel like he's at home in order to scam him. And they play That's Not My Horse. That's my horse.
No, yes, that's my horse.
Just like, oh my god. And like all this fucking made up country, weird Eastern European bullshit tradition stuff.
Like all the bullshit they had to do in order to like haggle for fish.
Yeah. His Christmas tradition of the bearded crone Ishmael. I think it was.
Ishmael, yes.
Ishmael who stops the pork and stabs it with her silver fork.
Presents? There are no presents.
He's great, and I love his animals. Of course, Wilfred, which is a female pig, but her name's Wilfred.
I realized that when I was watching the movie yesterday. I was like, wait a minute, that pig's got nips.
Yeah, Wilfred had nips the whole time, but even though Rolf's apparently this incredible agricultural expert, he claims that his pig is a guy.
I don't know. We're not around Wilfred as much as Rolf is. Maybe Rolf was able to through context clues, just be like, I think this pig identifies as a male.
Okay.
Maybe it's super progressive and we're just schlubs.
Maybe. He also has a goat named Victor. Victor's great. At least 6 chickens, 2 of which are named Bridget and Gertrude, and then a cow named Beatrice. And a sheep. That's what, because he's the son of a shepherd. Can't forget that.
Never
you have
forget
shamed
that.
the son of a shepherd.
And then last but not least...
And Antonucci says he's his favorite character.
Well, duh, he's everyone's favorite character.
Yeah, and he's the most, all the jokes come so much from his own life.
Yeah, and then the last character, Naz von Bartenschmier, which wasn't revealed until the movie.
Was it the movie or was it the Alien special?
Oh, maybe it was the Alien special. I don't know. Who cares? She was voiced by Tabitha Germain, Jen Forgey, and then lastly Erin Fitzgerald, who I know as a voice for many Monster High and Ever After High characters. She's
Yeah, I know Tabitha St. Germain as the speaking voice for Rarity in MLP:FIM. So
yeah.
Who Jen Forgey though? Don't know her.
Yeah, Naz is, if Kevin is the cool guy, Naz is the cool girl that everybody thinks is hot and likes and has a crush on. She's pretty nice for the most part, unless people are fuck with her. She's kind of ditzy. They go back and forth on that one.
She's probably the most inconsistently written, honestly.
Yeah. She's just kind of there.
I think most of the series was spent trying to figure out what the heck to do with her, because they probably just made her to be the girl, and then someone was probably like, we probably should do something with her now, but then they didn't know what to do with her.
And then last, but certainly not least, are the Kanker sisters, Lee, Marie, and May. Lee voiced by Jancy Jod, who's, Sarah. Marie voiced by Kathleen Barr, so Kevin, and May voiced by Erin Fitzgerald and Jen Forgey, so...
Whoever was voicing Naz at the time.
Naz. They are the Edds, super creepy girlfriends, like the creepy girls that live out in the trailer park who are obsessed with them and constantly, like, sexually harassing them and being really weird and gross all the time, and it's funny? Because there's cooties?
Marry, fuck, kill the Canker sisters. Go.
Fuck Marie.
Shit.
Marry May. Kill Lee.
Tooch, agree or disagree?
That'd probably be mine, too.
You are both correct. Moving on.
Okay.
I'm
Marie is
sorry,
the blue-haired
Lee.
one.
I like
May
you
is
sometimes.
May is blonde and Lee is the redhead. But I don't know.
And apparently they're all half-sisters.
Also, an interesting fact that my friend Martin pointed out: Lee has no eyes, Marie has one, and May has both.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You see Lee's eyes some of the times. I don't think you ever see Marie's.
Actually, he pointed out that like for goofs sometimes they'll switch it up, and then she's got 3 eyes for a frame instead of none.
Oh.
But so it still works.
I thought that was just like a smear, but that.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I don't know. It probably is just a smear, but anyway.
Yeah, but you know they're all half sisters. They make it sort of like subtly clear that like their mom, they only really share their mom, and they all probably have different dads, and like.
I mean, in the very first episode they're introduced, they have bathrobes with 3 different men's names on them. That they give
oh my
to
god,
Ed
I
and
remember that.
Yeah, so it's probably safe to assume that they get a lot of their ideas about relationships from their mom, I guess.
All of their dads are at the exact same store somewhere buying cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are just a bunch of fucking monsters. Like, they are hideous, terrifying creatures.
In retrospect, like, their behavior is super problematic, but at the time, it is just sort of like, oh yeah, like, when you're a kid, before you even know what if you're into girls, what you should do with girls, like, sometimes it was like they're, I don't know, I'm just looking at it from, like, the childhood male gaze.
Yeah, like,
then,
I know what they're trying to do, but yeah, looking at it now, it's kind of like, The implications of this are not okay. I don't know.
I guess I also saw it as like, you know, I mean, they're kids. They don't know what they're fucking doing. They're not gonna like. What do they do? What did they do when they actually got the Eds for that episode? They made them like clean it.
Yeah, I mean, this show got
So
a
they're
lot
not
of
that.
stuff past the radar. So
I mean, there's one in the Valentine's episode. There was this one scene where Lee and Marie were just looking at an anatomy textbook, giggling.
you know, a lot of the stuff they say is just like, you know, get in line, girls. Like,
It's probably literally like shit they've just like heard their mom say.
yeah, probably.
And like all her like PG-13 rom-coms that they probably have on like VHS.
Laserdisc.
They should.
So yeah, I think that wrapping up the show, you know, it's if
We
you're
haven't talked about the movie yet. We've talked about the movie.
let's talk about the movie.
Yeah.
Really weird opening to that movie.
Perfect fucking opening to that movie. Amazing opening to that movie. Just nothing but a goddamn, like, 10-minute chase sequence of epic. You don't even know what they did, and that's the point. And it's just like, then the everything in the car, and just that slow reveal that it's, whatever they did, it super fucked up everybody. And I love this movie. You say something about it now.
But no, what I'm talking about specifically is like in the very beginning before the chase scene starts, it's a bunch of silent static shots of the... Yeah, that's so weird for such a kinetic show.
Yeah, when that started, I was like, whoa.
This
What's
is-
this?
I
Black
did-
screen, white text,
Gotta
credits?
make sure that this player isn't muted.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that chase scene was amazing. I saw it twice, and
Yeah.
I was just like, this is really fun.
Because that silence just grabs you. It's just like
Yeah.
the exact opposite. It's like dead silence, and then literally the most ridiculous action that's ever been in the show. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, it's perfect.
Because it really helps to illustrate how terrible the thing they must have done was.
Yeah.
I mean, they took a bite out of Rolf's torso,
yeah, like,
which
what the hell?
apparently grew back.
No, it grafted
Yeah,
on
well,
you.
like-
There was a scar for the rest of the movie.
I didn't notice that.
Because most of the show works on Tom and Jerry logic, where if the scene's transitioned, then everybody's back to normal. But Rolf had that like bite mark scar for the rest of the film.
Yeah, the film, what was it called? Edd N
Ed Eddy's Big Picture Show.
Big Picture
Big Picture Show.
And the plot of the show, the film, this was how they decided to end this series. They had that extra season, and they were going to do 2 seasons, but they sort of, crapped out on the 6th season, because they're like, we were working on this movie.
So season 6 exists, but it's literally 1 episode.
Yeah, it's really weird. And then the movie premiered, and it was, it was really successful. And the plot is that, the Eds, one of their schemes goes too far, and the other kids want to fucking murder them for reals. So they have to leave town, and they're on the run, and they decide to go to Eddie's brother's place. And Eddie's brother's been mentioned throughout the show. Eddie's mentions him from time to time. He gets a lot of his sense of style and personality and whatever from his older brother. But, we've never really seen him. And it's really just sort of this weird road trip, sort of a la Wizard of Oz in a weird way, because they even have that line where it's like, Eddie, get a heart, and only if you get a brain, and Double D's like, courage, Edward, courage. And, they're going to, I guess, the wizard at the end of the whatever.
Get it?
Yeah.
You get it yet? Like Danny Antucci's just sitting next to us while we're watching it, just you get it?
I'm the first guy to ever make a reference to that Wizard Oz movie.
You never seen it, I probably gotta tell you about it. So this chick in Kansas is pretty boring, there's not even any color.
Black and white, skip that part, doesn't have any bearing on anything, cause then they go somewhere else.
Mr. Annucci, please, I'm trying to watch your film. It's garbage, let me tell you about what it's about.
I crept this out in 35 seconds.
Yeah, and it just...
also, there's a lot of, visual... a lot of times when there's text on the screen, it'll be a pun on Antonucci's name.
Yeah.
Is that one we saw today? It was an air conditioner or something that was Air Tanucci.
Oh, yeah, something like that.
No, it was a barf bag that was Air Tanucci. Because that was the airlines was Air Tanucci.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, the film is sort of the big send-off to the series. It's sort of they wanted to finish it up. They felt like, we can't make this forever, so let's just sort of create some kind of ending, some kind of closure, some kind of big conclusion, epic adventure. I felt like the slapstick in the movie was pretty non-stop.
Yeah.
Personally, I felt like the pace of the movie was kind of breakneck, but also really long. Because some of the best jokes in the show aren't just when weird shit is happening to people's bodies, but just those beats in time where the characters are just trying to register what someone else has said or done or whatever.
Yes.
But there wasn't as much of that in the movie, and it was really just a lot of constant, hitting and slamming and bouncing and jumping and...
there were lulls. There were quiet moments when, nothing was happening and, they were just talking or, figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
And then that was more of the, reaction stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, one of my problems, I have with the movie is, getting towards the end, because, it's all leading up to them meeting the brother, and I guess we can spoil this. They meet the brother, he's real, and he turns out to be an asshat, and
Which, honestly, it's not that surprising.
Yeah, and it turns out that he's, kind of like a shitty older brother who's, beat Eddie up growing up and stuff. But that scene wasn't as shocking to me as I feel like it was supposed to be, because the entire movie I was watching all of these kids get mutilated constantly. And I'm like, what's the big deal? It's just another fucking person beating the shit up out of Eddie. That's not different from anything else.
I think the context is it's his brother. It's this guy that's supposed to be his hero, his savior, the guy he looks up to, the guy he wants to be exactly like, and even he has, let Eddie down.
I know, but, even the Eds, they're best friends, but they're always hitting each other.
Stepping on each other's faces.
Yeah,
while the other person is standing up.
And we know that they care about each other, but that's, kids. I guess because he's an adult and they're kids is the big difference.
Yeah. That's another thing, too. It's this is a dude, picking on a child.
Yeah, but I felt like if there was a way they could make the violence different, it would have felt different.
If he shot and stabbed him.
He should have just he should have just straight up, broken Eddie's arm. Freaking fractured.
Just, broke his arm over his leg.
Because
like Batman,
I don't know,
like
just,
Bane.
that whole scene was just confusing for me because they all managed to catch up to them. The Cankers, the kids, everybody is there. The Eds are there. Ed's Johnny, not except for Johnny. Eddie's brother is beating Eddie up. And, like, all of a sudden, everybody's all concerned and like, wait, what are you doing? Like,
and they were there to murder him.
They were there to murder him. So I just don't understand. And then, you know, at the end of the movie, which is really right after this scene, they're like, oh, Eddie, Ed, Double D, you guys are cool. We're gonna be friends now. We finally approve of you. Yay, hooray, woohoo. Friends are great forever.
I just saw it, like, because they were there to bear witness to, like, basically, like, Eddie hitting rock bottom, that, like, they realized where he was coming from. It's like, oh shit, like, he's not just some little fucking Guido, he's, like, this is where he came from, this is what he, like, his own, like, his own hero has let him down, and it's just, like, an indication of, like, what he's based his life philosophies on and how they let him down, and it's like, nothing we can do to him will be any worse than, like... I also got the sense that, like, because Eddie seemed just as surprised as everyone else, so I think maybe because Eddie's brother was gone for so long, I wonder if on some level Eddie started, like, believing his own hype about his brother.
Yeah, I mean, it is sort of weird because it was his idea to go meet him, you know, and go see him. But maybe he thought that his brother wouldn't do anything if his friends were there or people were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like... he would try to impress them or something. I don't know. I mean, their relationship is obviously very complicated. But I just feel like the movie was so long and a lot of it was
It felt very long.
And a lot of it was just, you know, nothing super special. I feel like they could have taken more of their time with that part of it and made it feel more impactful like I think they wanted it to be. And not as rushed. Because by the time they got to it, it was just like, okay, we got 10 minutes, let's wrap up all this character development, completely change the status quo of everybody's relationships, you know, sing a song.
And then have a goof at the end where Johnny's evil. Let's do it. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, like, I felt like a lot of that stuff in the middle they could have made a lot shorter.
And also there's that scene where, like, Johnny is going into his secret lair and, like, there's watermelons everywhere, and I'm like... Is this about to be incredibly fucking racist?
Yeah, I forgot about Melonhead, so when I was watching that, I was like, wait, what?
What the fuck?
That's not okay!
How dare you?
Shame on you guys for forgetting about Captain Goddamn Melonhead.
I guess.
He's the hero we deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we suck.
Yeah, because we're terrible people, you know?
Alright. I think both of you raised very interesting points. I think it's an interesting debate. I think, I agree with parts of both of what you said. I want to move on to Korra.
Great cop out, Nikki. We love you.
Okay.
So yeah, that's Edd N Eddy. Like, really, there hasn't been slapstick in like the past 30 years that's been that good.
No.
It was a really funny show. Problematic at parts. Maybe that's a deal breaker for you. That's fine. I mean, doesn't more than fine.
It's not gonna change your life.
No, but it'll give you a good laugh. I bet it's funny, like, inebriated, like, if you're drunk.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, it is fascinating to look at. I mean, the creativity it takes to imagine bodies being squashed and stretched in that way is something that I certainly don't have a mind for. So watch...
It's top-notch damn animation.
Yeah, it's very well executed.